Hello guys, today we're going to be doing Theology midterm, so I'm going to go ahead and try to do as much as I can of this. So let's just get started with the first term, Rerum Novarum. So these are the rights and duties of capital and labor issued by Pope Leo the 13th. It defines the relative rights and duties of the rich and the poor. This was initially an open, later passed to all Catholics. The labor union, so this is to make sure workers aren't being exploited. Some examples include American Federal of Labor, Knights of Labor, Central Union, and Bakers Union. Strike. So a strike is a refusal to work organized by employees as a form of protest to get something from the employer. Then we have scab, who is a worker hired by an employer to replace a striking worker. Then we have traceability, which is the ability to verify the history, location, or application of an item by means of documented recorded information. So I've been trying to find a place to record and I can't seem to find that, but let's just go with it. So we slapped the traceability, which is again sort of the origin where products are made. So we talked about this when we talked about tracing it back to place to see what's made, if there was any labor and that. So that's what traceability means. Next we go on to explain what is meant by the labor question in the context of the Industrial Revolution. What did Pope Leo the 13th and other Catholic thinkers have to say about this question? So this was a major concern during 1912, in which both the running political parties of 1912 developed their own position of question on how to solve the problems of the worker in an industrial society. So Howard then brings about the Central Labor Union, which was geared toward violence and getting rid of capitalism. So Pope Leo the 13th believes this question cannot be solved by assuming as a principle that private ownership must be held sacred and inviolable. He believes the law should favor ownership and induce people to become workers. This is what Rerum Novarum is about. It's all about what is happening in the Industrial Revolution and what is going to happen after, in terms of labor civil unrest. So compare and contrast Marx's views on the Industrial Revolution and the labor question, which, oh my gosh, that door, with the position of the Catholic social teaching. I'm just gonna walk around because it's kind of awkward. So workers, not capitalists, should control the means of production, such as factories, railroads, and mines. So he believed in abolishing private property, as otherwise it would diminish people. He wanted it done through any means necessary, that is, through violence. His main concern was with everyone controlling private property without anyone getting anything individually. So that's the reason why he wanted to get rid of private property. And he thought it would only benefit the wealthy, so it wouldn't really help most of the people. The Catholic Church believed the contrary, as they believed that private property can be found in the law of nature. That is within the 10 Commandments, which condemn the nature of coveting others' property. In addition, Marx thought religion was the opiate of the masses, which would be used to simmer down people and thus not tolerate violence. So he thought if people were too religious, they wouldn't do anything violent and they wouldn't pretty much realize any change whatsoever. So the church obviously opposed violence. Both believed in. So one thing they share in common is that both believed in working towards a better environment. And they believed that something must change, and they also believed in protest, though in two different ways, clearly. So Leo XIII's Rerum Novarum discusses the right to association. What does that mean? So Leo supported the right of private society, such as families, businesses, and religious orders. He supported the right to exist and self-regulate as they are part of the Commonwealth. It is therefore the natural right of man, and state, to protect natural rights, not destroy them. Leo supported unions, however. He opposed some aspects of the labor movement, where he urged the workers that if things were going the wrong track, to form alternative associations. He didn't think there should be laws about unions, since there is a human right to form associations. And our state doesn't have the right to prohibit unions.
So after that, we encounter the term, what does the living wage mean? So this is alluding to the minimum wage for workers to survive and meet their basic needs. That's what living wage means. Ooh, that's very dark. Right. What are the main grievances of Jim Kitty against Nike? Any other apparel company is significantly different. So we thought that his university, which was St. John University, contradicted their Catholic mission by being sponsored by Nike. That people were facing inhumane conditions in other impoverished countries for the sole purpose of fulfilling American luxuries. Children were inhaling the chemicals burned from materials. Workers are fearful as they're being threatened by Nike to remain silent. They're only making $125 a day, not a living wage. There you go. the workers aren't spending time with their families, which is not as important, but it was still an important thing. Other sportswear includes Adidas, for example, which follow the same practices. They have workers in China and Indonesia, where workers are skipping meals to save money. Sad truth. They're not being paid a living wage, and they are being threatened or laid off for protesting. So discuss some of the labor issues related to the chocolate industry. Sorry if I'm yelling. There's so much noise here. I just couldn't find a better place to do this. So I have child labor, discrimination and harassment, minimum wage, and overworking hours. This is very complicated. I did it though. Okay. Violence and environmental conditions. So, again, I'm struggling, clearly. For what is Cesar Chavez best known? How does Catholic faith inform his public life? So he's best known for having organized the Farm Workers Association, which later was formed at Credit Union in 1964. He helped organize a strike on the part of the agricultural workers in California. He organized a pilgrimage to Delano to demand support from the government for the farm workers against the growers. His efforts are boycotting grapes continued to great extent. He was able to secure favorable agreements with grape growers in California. He was introduced, however, to the social movement by Father Donald McDonald through the influence of Pope Leo XIII and Pius XI, I believe, or the 9th. Discuss the challenges that American labor unions have faced over the past 50 years or so. How have these challenges affected American workers? Okay, great. So labor unions have declined as a result of workers remaining on the sidelines of formal economy and not being tracked by the Bureau of Labor Statistics because of their absence. The right to work legislation is a prime cause for this decline. So that what this is saying is that the right to work, again, is like this states, some states have this, they opt for workers still having the opportunity to form unions. However, employees are not required to pay the dues to support the unions, which allows others to enjoy whatever they want without joining their locals. So this affects American people by affecting their protection, keeping their wages stagnant, increasing their productivity with no wage increase, and income inequality. So then, why are we discussing labor unions in theology class? This is a very simple question. Let me switch my hand because it hurts at this point. Okay. I'm struggling, as you can tell. Continue. Finger. Okay. So God calls us to good work towards a greater good collectively. So we have a mission to protect our brothers and sisters. Unions are an indispensable part of our social order. The Catholic Church is concerned with upholding human dignity. Yep. So then we go into the next question. What does it mean to say that the structures of society are subtly racist? What in your view are some current examples of this subtle racism? So this means that there are societal tactics and establishments that exist to protect all groups of people, but inherently shaped to favor some over others. So we can see this in standardized exams for high school minority students. So statistics highlight that. 1 second. I can do it. There we go. No, I didn't do it. Great. Here we go. Great. Common trend among high-income application noticeable higher SAT or ACT scores in comparison to low-income and African American, for instance. So we see this in a lot of different things, but standardized tests are one part of it all. Explain Martin Luther King's argument for civil disobedience. Oh gosh. In his letter from Birmingham jail. When is it acceptable to break the law? When is it not? He alludes to Apostle Paul as an individual who sought out to preach the gospel of the Lord. King is compelled to leave his hometown as he himself has a vision, in quotes, or as he quotes, a call for aid. King says that one has a moral responsibility to disobey or break an unjust law that isn't rooted in neither eternal nor natural law or uplift human personality. And keep in mind that the person who says this is St. Thomas Aquinas, but he coined the phrase. King exclaims segregation is not only politically, economically, and sociologically unsound, it's morally and wrong and sinful. Okay, so we have a moral obligation to obey just laws. For a law to be just, again, St. Thomas Aquinas says that there must be an ordinance of reason written by someone with 30, promulgated, meaning people know about it, and it must be direct toward the common good. What were the goals and means of the eugenics movement? Are there any aspects of our culture that today promote eugenics? Oh my gosh, I can't even talk. This movement was aimed at improving the genetic composition of the human race. Historically, eugenicists advocated for selective breeding to achieve these goals. This occurs with college admissions whenever undergoing the selection process and picking the perfect fit. This is also seen in monarchies as well as movies and books, etc. This occurs through the discouraging of the reproduction by people presumed to have genetic defects or presumed to have undesirable traits. In Buck versus Bell, which is the case we discussed, we talked about the question asking whether we may sterilize feeble-minded people against their will. Carrie Buck was a woman that was 18 years old in the state of Virginia, claimed she had a mental age of 9. She was thought to be promiscuous as well. So there you go. What sorts of immigrants have a realistic shot to attain permanent legal residency or citizenship? So having family in the U.S. who are citizens and are that relative's parent, spouse, or minor child, leave the easiest, have the easiest chance. In addition, the quickest way would require someone to be super skilled. Prove he or she is a genius, be a star athlete or rich investor, which would take roughly 12 to 18 months. Conversely, there's virtually no process or no chance for unskilled immigrants without relations in the U.S. to apply for permanent legal residency. So anyone who doesn't have anybody in their families, they don't really have much of a chance.